Okay. Okay. Irish that. It's actually on one. It's actually on one. Working on it. Yeah, I'm pushing the button where it's not giving you any menu display on the screen. Okay. Okay.
Irish button right
push the
here.
button, it's not giving me
You press that. Let's put you down on two here. Let's make sure that we got you on manual. Manual. This is your iris ring right here.
Yeah.
So you go up and down. Let's turn your zebras off because that's gonna screw you up. Where's the zebras up? Just saw it a second ago. Oh, here it is. All right, there you go. So now you can see. So it goes down, causes it to get hotter.
Yeah.
You go up, you go there. So this should be fine right there. So when he says iris, this is your iris ring.
I know the iris, but can I push that button right there?
Yeah, that just takes you up to what the camera thinks it needs to be, like right here. So you press it once. So took away I thought I would need it. If all else fails, press that button once. It'll take you to what the camera thinks.
Oh, okay.
And then from there adjust it.
So it's all.
So yeah, right.
It's on manual.
Yeah, it's all in manual. Put it all in manual. So basically, your focus is right here.
Yeah.
So if I were you, for all intents and purposes, for what you're doing and following, I would pull your focus from right here at third base.
From right back here?
I would pull I'd pull it at third base. So pull your focus there because you're never going to go in tight. So tight right there. You're going to be following either runners over here to right here. This is the closest they're going to get to you. And they'll run away with you.
So you guys don't want like close-up shots, you just want wide, right?
Do what Carl asked. He might ask for close-up and then fill your iris, but for the most part, you'll just be following the runners.
Well, thanks.
No problem.
At third base, batting fourth at 23, Brooke Hartman. In left field, batting fifth, number 6, Amber Atkinson. At second base, batting sixth, number 24, Lindsay Devitt. Catching batting seventh, number 11, Mason Cook. Designated player, batting eighth, number 44, Samantha Morrow. field batting ninth, number 2, Mia Fung. And pitching today's game, number 22, Georgina Corin. Assistant coaches are Laura Ricciardani and Jess Moore. The head coach of the Bulls, Ken Erickson.
Are you ready for it? Ready for it?
We welcome you to Tulsa, Oklahoma on this Friday evening to kick off a 3-game series here in the American Athletic Conference on the American Digital Network. Bulls of USF, Golden Hurricane of Tulsa colliding again for the first of 3 meetings. Last year champs, both the regular season and tournament title holders of Tulsa colliding with this year's favorites, USF, right now for the first weekend all alone atop the standings. Finally have a bit of separation from UCF after the Bulls took last weekend's series 2-1 against the Houston Cougars. On that note, we welcome you inside the broadcast booth. Lincoln Rose, along with former Houston Cougars, Sydney Gearbracht. And Sydney, for the Bulls, they've just continued to stay atop the standings. Standing in their way, though, this weekend, I know you think it's going to be a big series against Tulsa.
That's true, and this weekend marks halfway through American Conference play, right? And USF coming in at a great time for them, building off of their momentum. 22 wins out of their last 25 games. And with Tulsa, they are coming off of a tough weekend against UCF, but they've bounced back nicely. So this is going to be the weekend that we may look back on and say, hey, this is where it was won.
3 losses against UCF, all by 1 run for the Golden Hurricane. Otherwise, they could very well be right there at the top of the standings with the Bulls. They can still help their cause here this weekend. Take a look at some of your keys to this matchup. First up for the visitors out of Tampa.
USF is going to have to tap into Tulsa's bullpen. They need to get past Watson or make sure they're choosing the right pitches and capitalizing with runners in scoring position. Their top 4 hitters must perform, including Aston Donovan, and then they must play clean defense and no free passes against the Golden Hurricane.
Tulsa's won the last 4 meetings, including last year's sweep. How do they continue on that momentum here this weekend?
Again, they have to support pitching. Emily Watson is going to be leading the charge for them, and they need to make sure they don't give USF any extra outs. And again, timely hitting is going to be the name of the game for both of these teams, but especially for Tulsa to produce with runners on base.
A couple of very talented arms in the circle today. I know you have your eyes on the freshman. Hard to believe, just her first year in college for Georgina Corin.
That's true. She is a freshman phenom for sure. Has some international prowess because she has some innings under her belt for Great Britain. But she has a great presence on the mound, because she is one of those players that is just comfortable and performs as a junior senior.
Should be a great pitcher's duel, because on the other side you have the All-American who last year led the nation with 14 shutouts, still coming through with that fastball.
That's true. She's 8th in the country. She's 1st in the American, has 192 strikeouts on the season, ranking high for NCAA in terms of ERA as well. Emily Watson is going to be one of those pitchers that you're going to need to watch it go far in postseason.
Look forward to having a good one here in Tulsa tonight in the American opening pitch when we return on ADN.
There are other people just like you, driven, determined, those who use passion to spark creation. Others who are ready to unite and discover together. It all starts with you and continues with us, the University of South Florida.
I'm Kirk Smith, and this is my story. I'm a captain of TU's track and cross country teams, and I'm a Rhodes Scholar. My life's pretty simple. I run, I work, and then I run some more. My research focuses on combating climate change by driving down the cost of energy storage. And that's my story. So far.
Welcome back to the Collins Family Softball Complex. Tulsa and USF set to go. Game one of this three-game weekend series. Again, USF coming in 7-2 in conference play after being picked to finish third by the coaches in the preseason. Of course, Tulsa, your preseason favorite after sweeping the regular season and conference tournament title a year ago. So in the circle, Corrick for the Golden Hurricane. And Emily Watson will see Corrick in the bottom half of the first as Lauren Evans leading things off.
Lauren Evans does a great job of setting the table for USF, and a leadoff batter has two jobs, right? They need to see a lot of pitches, and Watson doesn't throw a whole lot of pitches, especially when she is on her game, but seeing pitches and then also setting the table for this Bull offense. She and Aston Donovan do a great job of being that 1-2 punch, and Lauren Evans is going to be one of those senior mainstays, not only at the top of this lineup, but for the Bulls defensively. So we'll have to expect a lot from her this weekend as she is consistently producing.
Evans among the many returning starters from a year ago. Caught looking at strike three from Watson. Again, Watson the leader in the conference this year in punch-outs. 8th in the country. And showing off her All-American form a moment ago with this offering.
And a beautiful pitch there from Watson. Again, I said she works quickly. She doesn't give you an opportunity to see a lot of pitches there. And she does a good job using the vertical ladder with her rise ball, especially later in the count if she's ahead. It's really when we're going to see her rise ball. So USF's going to need to capitalize early on something that's moving horizontally, namely Watson's curveball.
Aston Donovan shows bunt, pulls back. Donovan so far this year batting .364. He's made every start this year, the only Bull who can claim as much. Has a total of 8 extra base hits on the year, including 3 home runs. But she is the threat when she's on the base paths. Easily the team leader in stolen bases. See if she can get on here to get things going for the Bulls.
And Aston Donovan achieved an incredible achievement for any player. I was able to get her 200th hit last weekend against the series against Houston. And that incredible career performance and a great milestone there for the senior. Be interesting to see her push the envelope for the rest of her senior campaign, and really has an opportunity here to see how great she can be with this next half of conference play and into postseason. USF getting a couple votes here and there for the top 25, so more likely that they're going to be in postseason.
So Donovan's on first. She's 13 of 14 this year in stolen bases. Cassidy Boyle at the plate with 1 away, hitting 300 on the year. Just about everybody in the top 2/3 of this lineup batting at 300 or better.
And these are the batters in this top 4. We noted that USF, they need to perform, right? Evans, Donovan, Boyle, Hartman, they all pack a punch in some way, shape, or form. We talked a little bit about Donovan's speed, Hartman's power. I'm sure will come up a little bit later today. But making sure that they're capitalizing when they have runners in scoring position. And then Tulsa needs to make sure that they're not giving up any extra outs or giving any free passes. We just saw Watson give a free pass to Aston Donovan. That's dangerous to do for the speediest player on this USF team.
This is the first weekend where the Bulls have any separation from UCF. They're a game better than the Knights coming into this weekend in the conference standings. We'll see if they have a chance to grow on that here this weekend. against a very talented Tulsa squad that again has won the last 4 after the Bulls had owned the series all time between these two programs before a little bit of a dry stretch. Watson. This one lofted out towards left. Bulls with 37 home runs as a team this year will come up short of number 38 right there. Donovan will have to retreat back to second as Boyle simply with the deep out.
And that's just a good piece of hitting right there. She knows what she's choosing. It looks like she almost slows her bat down through the zone. Would have really loved to see her take a little bit of a bigger hack there and let Watson's speed carry that ball over the fence, because she got it right on the sweet spot of the barrel.
Can the sophomore Brooke Hartman continue this inning? As the throw down to second, and for just the second time this year, Donovan caught stealing. Watson, the All-American in the circle, just has to face the minimum 3. Gives up a free pass, but Spell able to erase the base runner.
Oh, that ball is hit deep, left field, way back. That ball is gone. Double play ball potentially. Schreitenthal's over to first. In time, double play, and that ends the game.
Well, no runs to show for that top half of the first inning for the Bulls as Georgina Korek now steps into the circle. And Sydney, we had a chance to see her last weekend. The talented freshman this year, already some international experience. Of course, playing for a coach with plenty of international experience. But you talk about a young lady with a 1.53 ERA, and this is the opposing lineup for the Golden Hurricane. So Hollingsworth, Estacado, and Neal will be the minimum 3 she could face. Minen, Stafford, and Spell. Spell, who threw out the runner from behind the plate to put an end to that top half of the first. Hughes, Bryers, and Witten round out the bottom third for Tulsa. As Hollingsworth is your DP today, the junior just a base hit shy of batting .400 basically. And her unique job is just get on any way you can for your teammates.
Again, for the leadoff batter, it's important for them to see as many pitches as they can, set the table for either of these offenses. We saw it from Lauren Evans, wasn't able to do her job. Let's see if Hollingsworth is able to do hers. I know Hollingsworth is getting the DP leadoff role today, but she's also gotten some outfield reps for the Golden Hurricane. So interesting to see them zhuzhing up the lineup here in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa with so many returners from last year, but some voids they're still looking to replace. They've shuffled some players at third base and in the outfield. That's where you had the 2 seniors last year, the sisters, the Withies, and they are still just trying to find some consistency in those 2 areas.
That's true, and the Withy sisters were so integral to the success of the Golden Hurricane, their 2017 season, specifically Maggie Withy, who played third base. You mentioned that, Lincoln. Really, she only made 1 error last year throughout the entire season, started every game at third base. So that's a significant loss for the Golden Hurricane. So in that role right now is being taken up by a freshman.
Right back to Korek. Able to field her own circle, tosses it to Evans in plenty of time for the opening out. Gives way for the senior, Shelby Estacado, one of just 2 seniors in the lineup today for Tulsa. Estacado hitting .389 on the year, 7 home runs to lead the Golden Hurricane this season with 37 RBI.
And Estacado leading for the Golden Hurricane in a number of categories. She is going to be the firepower for this team, and she's one of those players that can make a huge difference with one swing of the bat. Tends to come up clutch often for the Golden Hurricane, so she's going to be a key player that is more likely one time in this series may send one over and may be one of those players with a key at bat when it comes to timely hitting.
Well, she's seen 3 pitches, none of them in the strike zone. Estacado, the senior out of Las Vegas, what a week she had, both the weekend series against Wichita State as well as against nationally ranked Oklahoma State and the Cowgirls, an in-state rival of sorts. She goes .357 on the batting average last week, a home run, 7 RBI, and along the way became one of the top 3 home run hitters in this program's history.
30 home runs so far for this season, so you got to tip your hat to Shelby Estacado. And Corrick doing a great job of using the corners. Both of these pitchers are going to need to be getting the inside corner. Ooh.
That'll get down. It's a fair ball. Looking for extra bases. Sliding into second, able to beat the tag. Estacado has the one-out double.
And able to keep that ball in fair territory, and decides a little wide there from first to second, but she's able to take that extra base, and that sort of aggression on the base paths is going to be a big difference, and that extra 60 feet might be what we see here that takes the win today for either of these teams.
Morgan Neal with a little excuse me check swing. That ball finds her bat. It's a fair ball. She's out, but Estacado able to advance 60 feet, however, with 2 away.
And Morgan Neal has reached base safely in each of her last 16 games, so that's a season best for the junior. She's currently hitting .354, and she's slugging .583, so actually not the type of swing that we're used to seeing from Neal. So definitely going to be looking forward to her second and third bat so far this game.
Well, you wondered how Corrick would respond with a runner over there on third, and she blows one right past Haley Minen. Minen, NFCA All-Region last year. Again, when Tulsa swept the Hardware in the American regular season, and that 1-0 blanking of Houston in the championship to go on to the NCAA tournament. Tulsa has been in the NCAA tournament now 6 of the last 7 years. Great consistency under head coach John Barfeld. This is a Tulsa program that before Coach Barfeld only had 4 winning seasons in their previous 13 years. So Minen at the plate, 2 outs, runner on third, and that runner will be stuck on third. Shelby Estacado had the 1-out double. 2 batters later, she has to head back to the dugout. We remain scoreless here in Tulsa after 1.
Power comes in all forms.
Power is a big tackle,
a big save,
a clutch hit,
and a game-winning shot.
Power is also standing up for what is right.
Power is respecting an opponent, officials,
student athletes, coaches, and team representatives.
Power is not tolerating racial or ethnic comments,
profanities, or other improper actions
while at the game.
The American.
Power.
Power. Power.
Power for life.
7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 21 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American.
Welcome back to Tulsa here at the Collins Family Softball Complex. Tulsa last year made it to the Norman Regional, won their first 2 ball games before the Sooners, an in-state rival, single-handedly would eliminate them from the NCAA tournament in their last 2 outings of the year. Preseason favorites this year, but this weekend they're up against the team that is top in the American standings, the Bulls, 7-2. And what a year it has been so far for USF, but Emily Watson trying to shut them down. Brooke Hartman is back at the plate where she was in the midst of a plate appearance before spell was able to eliminate Donovan from the base paths for out number 3.
And Hartman is going to be the firepower on the opposite side for USF, right? And she's going to be somebody who comes in, getting her 8th home run last weekend against Houston to lift them above the Cougars in Game 2. They ended up winning that series, but Hartman is integral with her power, with her bat, in coming in those key situations. And just a beautiful screwball there from Emily Watson, able to work really well with her both horizontal, and vertical pitches. Again, if you are a member of this USF offense, you really want to be looking for those horizontal pitches. You don't want to be caught swinging, because more often than not, you're not going to be able to catch up to those pitches that are going to be moving out of the zone vertically. Again, see Hartman taking a hack at a couple of rise balls, and we know this about Emily Watson. It's not a surprise anymore what the senior is going to be throwing, right? Occasionally she'll throw some off speed, and she usually introduces that later in the game. Cork does the same thing, but both pitchers are really going to rely on a rise ball later in the count. And there it was. There was the off speed.
Hartman not chasing. 2-2 now the count. You mentioned last weekend for the Bulls, they could have easily been swept in that series or had a 3-0 sweep. They trailed by multiple runs in all 3 games. They came back in Game 2 and in Game 3. Remember, Game 2 started on Saturday evening and finished on Sunday due to weather. And the comeback took place entirely on that Sunday morning. That keeps them at the top of the standings. This ball will not carry out. Instead, it holds up for Witten out there and left. 1 away. Well, we talk about international experience for different individuals on the Bulls. Ken Erickson enters his 8th year as the head coach of the USA women's national team. On the collegiate side, 22nd year with the Bulls, 900 victories with the program for the 1984 graduate of the University of South Florida.
When talk about a coach that has both international and national experience, he has been on this stage for quite some time, so you know that his teams are going to be incredibly well coached, and the same thing goes for Barfeld. So this is going to be, again, a dogfight all the way until the end. We mentioned earlier in the broadcast a tale of 2 aces, Watson and Corrick, so it'll be whatever team makes less mistakes at the end of the day.
Slow roller to Neal, and Atkinson retired at first for out number 2. A couple of Ken Erickson's assistants on this USF team also on his staff with USA. Wonder how much gear he has where the F is just held on with Velcro and he slaps an A in its place. Thank you for laughing. Lindsey Devitt with 2 outs comes up, nobody on. And we'll swing right through the offering of Watson as these two meet for the first time today. Devitt out of Jacksonville, now a junior. Again, one of the many returners this year for the Bulls. A big reason why they've done as well as they have. Did not lose a lot from a year ago.
Well, and both of these teams really anchored by juniors and seniors, so we're going to talk a little bit about more of that next inning.
Emily Watson has still just faced the minimum. Can her Golden Hurricane get her a lead in the bottom of the second?
There are other people just like you. Driven, determined. Those who use passion to spark creation. Others who are ready to unite and discover together. It all starts with you and continues with us, the University of South Florida.
I'm Kirk Smith, and this is my story. I'm a captain of TU's track and cross country teams, and I'm a Rhodes Scholar. My life's pretty simple. I run, I work, and then I run some more. My research focuses on combating climate change by driving down the cost of energy storage. And that's my story. So far.
Well, of course, softball and spring sports well underway. In fact, we'll have some of our first spring championships coming up. We'll have live coverage right here on the American Digital Network of that final Tuesday with women's golf and men's golf. Sandwiched in between, will be up in Dallas on the American Digital Network for the men's and women's tennis championships on the campus of SMU. And then, of course, softball, we head to Tampa with your coverage of the opening rounds of the softball championship. Last year won by Tulsa. They are back at the plate here in the bottom half of the second. It's Tori Stafford leading things off out of the 5 spot. Stafford, the junior out of Van Buren, Arkansas. Batting .242 on the year, but batting .391 when she leads off an inning.
So another one of those players that is going to have have an acute understanding, rather, of that leadoff role. No doubt has a little bit of leadoff probably prior to coming into college or even earlier in her career as a member of this Tulsa squad. Not able to get on top of that one, though. Again, Cork doing a great job of working that rise ball when she gets ahead in the count.
Lincoln Rose, Sydney Gearbracht with you. And Sydney, I know you're not expecting many crooked numbers on the scoreboard today.
No, that's true. And what Cork and Watson both do well is they both have incredibly low ERA. They both rely on a lot of strikeouts and miss hits, too. And they, what you're going to see from both pitchers, and it's really cool to kind of parallel the freshman and the senior. With Cork, you're going to see rise balls, and she plates the corners well, and she expands out if she's getting the river. Really important that she's able to get that inside river in particular. What is a hitter going to be doing with a ball that's inside? Rarely are they going to be hitting it fair. Unable to get the corner there, but again, we're seeing her start to expand the zone on that outside corner. And so that's going to be a key to her success, is getting that call all weekend long. Same thing with Watson.
Tulsa stranded a runner on third last inning. A strikeout of Spell now. 2 up, 2 down as Cork working her way through the second inning.
And Cork not really having to do a whole lot there, right? So she is just making sure that her curve is exactly where it needs to be, just out of reach of Spell's barrel. And she's not going to be overpowering either, right? She's throwing low 60s. It's really her movement that she capitalizes on, and also her presence, right? So we talked a little bit about the fact that she has international innings. That makes a big difference when she's coming into college. And the fact that she has so much experience on the international stage is going to be very telling, I think, this next summer when she does play with Great Britain, and then also throughout the rest of her career. So watching this young pitcher blossom into a player that, you know, can really learn a lot from Emily Watson, especially this series, it's going to be exciting for the Bulls and to have her in the circle.
Again, it's Shannon Hughes, the number 7 hitter at the plate right now. 1 ball, 2 strikes now, the count to her name. And she'll lay off the next offering. That'll even up the count at 2-2. Hughes out of Independence, Missouri. Started her career over at Northeastern Oklahoma A&M before becoming a member of the Golden Hurricane. See if she can prolong this inning with 2 outs. That'll get through a gap. Cassidy Boyle at shortstop was shading her a bit towards third base. And this inning continues with Hughes reaching.
And that just goes to show you that USF has that scouting report on her that says, hey, this is a kid that's going to be really working the 5-6 hole. Let's go ahead and shade over there, like you said, Lincoln. But she does a great job of pushing that ball up the middle, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the most well-hit ball in the world in order to do your job. So got to tip your hat there.
Sarah Briers out of the 8 spot for Tulsa today, one of a couple of Houston area products on this roster. She's from Spring, Texas, Klein Oak High School, just a freshman this year. In Tulsa, 5-4 in conference play, a 3-way tie for third right now. They could easily be 8-1, but 3 losses against UCF, all by 1 run. More recently, Tulsa swept ECU and took 2 of 3 at Wichita State and Kansas last weekend. Got around on this one. That's going to be pulled foul when it's all said and done for Briers.
And we talked a little bit about who was it that was going to be filling that pivotal role over there at third base that was left a little bit of a vacuum by Maggie Withy, and it's actually Briers. She comes in as a freshman, the only freshman in this lineup, which is really led by a number of seniors, excuse me, a number of juniors and a couple seniors. And she's been able to make a little bit of a name for herself so far in her freshman campaign.
Boyle, it's short, able to squeeze that one in. So Tulsa, for a second straight inning, will leave one stranded, and a couple more zeros on the board in the second inning.
Oh, that ball is hit deep, left field, way back. That ball is gone. Double play ball potentially Schreitenthal's over to first. In time, double play, and that ends the game.
Back in Tulsa, we had some threat of showers prior to the game. In fact, both teams warmed up indoors, but ultimately it's turned out to be a nice day to take in some college softball here in the American. Lincoln Rose, Sidney Gearbracht with you on the American Digital Network. This is our third and final regular season game on ADN. Again, we'll have wall-to-wall coverage during the conference tournament before handing it off to our friends over at ESPN for the championship in Tampa. USF, even if they were to lose every game from here on out, they are your hosts for the softball championship this year. I don't think, though, that they are going to go winless the rest of the way.
What a great team so far this season that's going to be hosting conference tournament. We talked a little bit about it in the opener. USF coming into this weekend having won 22 out of their last 25 contests. So exactly where they want to be in terms of momentum. And when we talk about the way we break up a season, right? You have preseason, conference, and then postseason.
Macy Cook trying to become the first base runner on the day for the Bulls. That will drop down in front of the warning track, and she has a leadoff double. Nice start for the bottom third of the lineup here against Emily Watson. I say first base runner. There was a walk back in the first, but Watson has faced the minimum up until now.
And we see Macy Cook use a timing tactic, able to bring her bat back, gets perfect timing there against Emily Watson. And she's a transfer and the mainstay backstop for this USF team. So she works with all of the pitchers for the Bulls.
Sam Worrell unable to get the bunt down right there, as that one clears above the bat. Let's see if she still has the bunt here.
Looks like she gets caught with the way that rise ball jumps late.
Swinging away, and now all of a sudden behind the count 0-2. Cook the runner on second. Mia Fung is on deck. She bats in the 9 spot, not a traditional number 9 hitter, although I guess more and more some talent and speed in that 9 hole is becoming traditional for a lot of these successful programs.
And even having a great and fast 9-hole hitter can be almost like having a second leadoff. Often we see the 9-hole, just by the way games shake out, they tend to lead off innings pretty often. So it's going to be interesting to see if Mia Fung and Michaela Witten on the Tulsa side are going to be able to supplement the top of the lineup with being a base runner.
Again, Fung is on deck. This is Sam Worrell, your DP out of the 8 spot. She goes chasing, down on strikes. Second strikeout today for Watson.
We're seeing Watson really commit to every pitch that she's throwing. A beautiful drop ball there from her. Again, we said so important for Watson to be able to get those swing and miss pitches as part of what makes her so successful, and we can see it on the top of the ladder and the bottom of the ladder.
That brace on Fung's left knee, a reminder that she had to miss a season. The red shirt, I believe junior is back now.
Yeah, Mia Fung suffered an ACL tear. She was the home run leader as a freshman. Missed the majority of last season because of that injury. So USF happy to have her back in the lineup.
They didn't have to spend much on the recruiting budget to find her. She's out of Tampa, went to Strawberry Crest High School. Macy Cook's the runner on second with one out. Let's see if Fung can bring her around. As that ball, a rise ball spell, able to squeeze it in.
I'm loving the timing adjustments I'm seeing in this inning from USF, right? We saw Macy Cook, who showed, for lack of a better term, like a right-handed slap. You show bunt and then you pull back. That's a timing technique, and you also see it from Mia Fung.
This ball is launched out and beyond left field, and you talked about that home run prowess for Mia in her freshman campaign. She brings home Macy Cook, and it's a two-spot here in the third inning for the Bulls.
And again, Mia Fung doing a great job in all of the pitches that she's seeing from Watson, getting her foot down early, making sure that she is set up, loaded like a bullet out of a gun with that one, is able to take that ball out into the street over the fence, both fences that surround this Golden Hurricane complex.
So your bottom third of the lineup has just produced 2 runs. Now back to the top of the order to Lauren Evans. Gets some contact after striking out in the first inning, and Watson makes the mistake on the throw. It will not cost her an extra base. So Evans will reach. And all of a sudden, still just one away here in the third inning.
We talked about it a little bit earlier in the game, Lincoln, how important it was for Tulsa to not give USF extra outs. And again, USF, we've seen, so not only from a micro level in games and in at-bats, but from a macro level throughout their season, they are a team that capitalizes on momentum. Doing the same thing here.
Sacrifice bunt from Aston Donovan after Evans reached on the air. You have 2 on. I say sacrifice bunt, but it'll be infield single for Donovan.
One of the great things about Aston Donovan is that she can do it all, right? She's so fast. She's able to lay down a bunt easily and be safe for a single, and also has that home run power. So you don't really know what she's going to do as an opposing defense, and that's what makes her so deadly, especially at the top of the lineup.
Boyle flight out towards left. This line drive will go foul. So it started with the bottom third of the order. Macy Cook had that double. First hit surrendered today by Emily Watson. The second hit she surrendered over the outfield wall. A 2-run blast by Mia Fung with 1 away. An error on a throw from Watson, and now Donovan's single has 2 on, still with 1 away for Cassidy Boyle. And the Bulls are starting to get some good contact.
Really seeing a dedication to timing, making sure that they know what their bat angle needs to be depending on the pitch that they're choosing, number one, and also making sure that they're matching whatever Watson is throwing. They're not overproducing with their bat speed. They're allowing Watson to come to them with her power and how heavy of a ball she throws. All they're focusing on right now is getting the barrel in the right spot, and that's all that USF as an offense is going to be able to ask against this All-American pitcher.
After starting off in a hole 0-2, the count now 1 ball, 2 strikes to Boyle. And not biting on that, count evens up 2-2. Boyle batting a shade under 300 at 299 this year, hitting 364 with runners on, as is the case here with Evans and Donovan. As you see, Evans on second. And another foul ball. Well, USF did themselves a favor when they did not allow Tulsa to score in the first inning. The first had been a very productive inning this year for the Golden Hurricane. And we were scoreless up until here in the third inning when the bottom third of the lineup had come through. And still looking for more production here, the Bulls, with their number 3 hitter, Boyle.
And we're seeing Boyle fight that pitch off, right? And even though that was probably a good pitch to choose, her bat angle was one when she starts her swing, is her barrel is up. She's ready to hit that rise ball if she's seeing it. So that's why she's really wasting a lot of pitches that earlier in her at bat, she actually might be able to hit really well.
Boyle caught looking at a good one.
That ball thrown from our angle, Lincoln, right down the middle. So it's clear that there's a little bit of a gamesmanship right there from Watson, seeing that there's a little bit difference in their bad angle and making sure she's making her adjustments on her horizontal pitches.
A couple of strikeouts account for the only 2 outs this inning. Here's Brooke Hartman at the plate, already the 7th batter to come up for the Bulls here in the 3rd. She flied out towards left to get last inning started. Hartman out of Port Orange, Florida, the sophomore. Will fight that one foul.
And Tulsa and USF boasting lineups full of juniors and seniors, full of experience. And Hartman, one of those younger contributors for the USF offense. We talked a little bit about her home run firepower and how key she's been in clutch situations. Had a great week last week. Was able to lift a couple home runs over the fence for USF to give them some key wins. Did it against Memphis and then against Houston a week later. So seeing her settle in nicely to her role.
Still 2 on for Hartman. And that's 3 strikeouts on the inning for Watson. The 3rd will come to a close, but not before a 2-run blast off the bat of the number 9 hitter, Mia Fung. That's 38 home runs on the year now for the Bulls. They have a 2-run advantage after 3.
7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 21 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American.
There are other people just like you, driven, determined, those who use passion to spark creation. Others who are ready to unite and discover together. It all starts with you and continues with us, the University of South Florida.
Welcome back. Bottom half of the 3rd. The Bulls now with a 2-run lead for Georgina Korick to work with in the circle, entering her 3rd frame here in Tulsa. And it's the number 9 spot due up for the Golden Hurricane. First time Michaela Witten has come to the plate today. She'll be followed by Hollingsworth and Estacado.
And Witten having some pretty big shoes to fill as a 9-hole hitter in comparison to Mia Fung, who's able to lift one over the fence for USF. Again, there's something to be said about a really strong 9-hole hitter. Not only does it surprise the opposing defense.
Witten just batting a little over 200, but was actually batting closer to 400 when leading off an inning. Will be retired there.
And not able to do anything with that. Again, looks like a little bit of a check swing. Might have been able to get away with that if she was on the left side, but those couple extra steps you have to take on the right side mean that as a right-handed hitter, you really need to make sure you've either driven that ball into the ground so it bounces up high or that you're taking your full swings. I can't tell you as an analyst, as a player, as a coach, how important it is for players to be taking their hacks because that's one of the controllables we talk about in softball, right? Being able to control what we can control. And being able to say that you took 3 great hacks in an at-bat is one of those things that a player needs to take pride in.
Hollingsworth in the hole, no balls, 2 strikes. Hollingsworth, the junior out of Ennis, Texas. Right now, she is the best all-time in the Tulsa program's history in on-base percentage, 460 in her career. Also hitting .367 for her career. That's 2nd best for the Golden Hurricane. Easy to understand why she was named all-region by the coaches a year ago. Grounded out to the pitcher, Korek back in the first. Lays off that one, 2-2 the count.
And a couple more numbers for Hollingsworth. She ranks 6th for the program with 40 stolen bases. And she's had 6 triples so far in her career, and that's tied for 8th. She has actually a single game record, which is tied with another Golden Hurricane member. She had a pair of triples in Tulsa's win over Nicholls State back at the beginning of March.
It'll be a little deja vu with the ground out back to the pitcher. John Barfelt, 13th year with Tulsa, is your longest tenured head coach in Tulsa, your winningest head coach, and not just winningest because of that tenure, but he has the best winning percentage of any coach for this Golden Hurricanes program. And you see both these teams with wins over top 25 foes this year. Tulsa over Oklahoma State. USF beat Michigan earlier this season as well.
And John Barfelt, he is going to be one of those coaches, very stoic, very even keel for the most part. Maybe I've seen him get fired up in the times that I played against his squad or that I've called a game for or against Tulsa.
Korek with a 2-run lead, retires the side. 3 up, 3 down, on to the 4th.
Power comes in all forms. Power is a big tackle,
A big save.
a clutch hit.
And a game-winning shot.
Power is also standing up for what is right.
Power is respecting an opponent, officials,
Student athletes, coaches, and team representatives.
Power is not tolerating racial or ethnic comments.
Profanities or other improper actions.
While at the game.
Be American.
Power.
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 Power for life.
I'm Kirk Smith, and this is my story. I'm a captain of TU's track and cross country teams, and I'm a Rhodes Scholar. My life's pretty simple. I run, I work, and then I run some more. My research focuses on combating climate change by driving down the cost of energy storage. And that's my story. So far.
Bulls looking for more insurance. Emily Watson back in the circle. As Watson giving up the 2-run blast in the 3rd. That's all of our scoring so far today. The home run conceded to the number 9 hitter, Mia Fung, who is scheduled to bat 5th this inning. Watson does not have any desire to see Fung until perhaps the 5th. Well, she came in knowing that the Bulls walk a lot. They are tied for 1st in this conference. They've walked once today, and also among the leaders in sacrifice bunts, putting runners in scoring position.
Nothing more irritating to a pitcher than a team or even a single hitter that is really tough to get out. And USF, their offense as a whole fits the bill. They do not strike out very often. They're looking to see as many pitches as possible. Occasionally will hit early in the count depending on who is up to bat. Seeing Atkinson here, and she was really integral to their win against Houston last weekend, and we've really seen her mostly in the designated hitter role, but she's actually gotten a couple reps as of late in left field.
Atkinson, the 5th-year senior out of Citrus, Florida. Grounded out to the right side back in the 2nd inning, 0 for 1 today. See how Watson settles in. Again, she had faced the minimum through the first 2 innings. With the leadoff double from Macy Cook last inning, Cook would come home to score 2 batters later on the home run by Fung. Mentioned the Bulls now 38 home runs already on the year. Not going to find number 39 right there. It's another strikeout for Watson's collection today.
There she goes, able to work down in the zone now. Having a little bit of a different strategy after USF was able to get on her rise ball. Saw some adjustments with where they were taking their barrel from the start of their swing to contact. So a great adjustment there from Emily Watson. And to getting more, using her drop ball more often and also using her changeup, which we said is a little bit more off speed rather than a true changeup. What's great about Emily Watson is as a pitcher, you need to make sure that from the time your body is in a T shape, right? So from the time that you're going to be coming down and through the slot that you create with your body, that needs to be the fastest part of your pitch, regardless of how fast your arm circle is. And we see that from Emily Watson, and that's really where she not only gets the majority of her velocity by using the torque of her body, but also gets the majority of her spin. And so she's been able to adjust those things as the game goes on, which has been really fun to watch her evolve that throughout this game and throughout her career.
We'll mention when they did appeal down a couple pitches ago, they said did not swing. Count now is 2-1 as Lindsay Devitt popped out to the shortstop to end the second. Watson has struck out 5 today, including 4 in the last inning plus. Devitt out of the 6th spot, trying to get something going. Again, Bulls looking for insurance, as this one will get out of play into the netting over by the dugout. Well, we mentioned both of these programs with the victories out of conference play over top 25 foes this year. This one pulled foul. The American as a whole continues to be one of the best conferences in Division I in RPI. They are ranked 4th right now among Division I conferences. You talk about Wichita State, 29th. These Bulls are 39th in RPI. Houston at 50, Tulsa at 51. Should make for a great tournament at the end of this season over in Tampa. And look forward to seeing multiple teams in the NCAA tournament. This ball has a chance. Wind blowing out, and it'll carry. Devitt with the blast off her back. And Devitt now with her 6th home run. 2nd on the day for the Bulls.
And very clear to me that Erickson has prepared his offense well to face Watson. This is the 2nd rise ball that we've seen USF be able to take out, seen their adjustments with their bat angle for the past couple innings. And Devitt able to take that one out. Again, a little bit of wind today in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that's going to be one of the contributing factors. But all in all, just a great piece of hitting there from Lindsay Devitt.
So that's 2 home runs conceded today by Watson, who has been vulnerable to the long ball this year. 16 now surrendered on the season. Otherwise, Watson, a 1.66 ERA. Again, an All-American a year ago with 14 shutouts, but she's going to need run support today. And we're back to Macy Cook, who led off that inning when we saw 7 Bulls just last inning in the 3rd come up to the plate. She had the double, 1 for 1 today. The junior from Uniontown, Ohio, will fight that one off.
And it's so interesting to see how many of this current USF lineup has started every single game. We noted earlier in the broadcast that Aston Donovan has been the mainstay, right? She started all 44 games the Bulls have played so far. Macy Cook.
That one comes up and bites Hughes, no play. And that is just something we've seen a few more times this year than last year when Tulsa had so much success defensively, especially on the left side, minimizing mistakes. But just some bad fortune there on the hop.
And that was just a well-hit ball there from Macy Cook. What are you going to do? As a shortstop, you know that that ball's coming. Unfortunately, just is able to bite her hand a little bit, but overall, not much Hughes can do other than make sure that she plays the ball. The ball doesn't play her, but looked like that was just a little bit of an unfortunate coincidence.
Gonna let Hughes throw a couple. That is ruled as a base hit for Cook. No error charged to Hughes on the left side. So all of a sudden, after the first batter, Atkinson strikes out, you have a home run and a single now for USF's bottom half of the lineup. I'll bring up Sam Worrell, who struck out last inning, 0 for 1 today.
And it's interesting. Cook, Worrell, and Fung all coming into this game hitting under 300, but also seeing a little bit of a zhuzhing of the lineup that we've seen from last weekend, and the point that ultimately, Erickson is not afraid to find game to game who is going to be the best 9 to put out there on the field. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same person the same 9 every time. So talk about a coach that's able to say, hey, whoever's the best 9 this week are going to be getting the reps.
It's a fair ball. Only play would be at first, not in time, and Whirl is on. So Cook moves to second, Whirl on first, and a couple of balls that don't leave the infield results in a couple of base runners. And let's see if this ball hits her in the batter's box. It does it not?
Mm-hmm. Ball hits her in the batter's box. At that point, she's part of the field, so.
That's why you run. No matter what, that time, Whirl may have very well stolen first base unofficially. By the way, Cook, Whirl, and Fung, it seems appropriate they're in the back of the lineup. Sounds like a law firm you'd find on the back of your yellow pages. Here's Fung, 2-run home run. Last inning, she wanted a 3-run blast right there.
Well, it just goes to show you, I mean, this is welcome to Division I softball, right? Every player that has been handpicked to be put in a lineup is going to be good, is going to be a threat offensively, and USF just happens to have that firepower that has contributed in this game so far, putting them up by 3.
Again, Macy Cook was standing on second last inning when Fung came up and sent one over the wall. Right now, Cook on second with Whirl on first. Fung with her 7th home run of the year earlier today. And goes chasing now behind the count 1-2. Fung is already the 5th batter this inning. Got her that time. Second out of the inning. The last 5 outs recorded by the Bulls have all been strikeouts from Emily Watson.
And again, Emily Watson is not used to being hit, right? Not very many balls put in play. And if they are put in play, they're really mishit, and usually does a good job of allowing her defense to work behind her. Hasn't been the case today. She's had some infield hits that have gone in easily fieldable situations, and unfortunately it's just been a bad hop, a little bit unlucky there against Whirl's swinging bunt that we saw. So Emily Watson just really not getting very many breaks today.
Lauren Evans 0 for 2 today, strikeout and reached on an error. Will send a fly out. Second straight inning, the Bulls able to put at least a run on the board. Also second straight inning, they strand a pair. They do find insurance. They lead by 3 moving into the home half of the 4th.
Oh, that ball is hit deep, left field, way back. That ball is gone. Double play ball potentially Schreitenthal's over to first. In time, double play, and that ends the game.
Let's do it.
Let's take a look at the standings here on ADN for softball as USF against 7-2 last weekend with a 2-1 result against Houston, able to gain some ground beyond UCF. Of course, a 3-way tie for 3rd for Tulsa, Memphis, and Wichita State. Should be quite the finish here. And a surprise slow start for the Houston Cougars, picked 2nd this year. A lot of talent, but the whole conference has gotten better this year. And as a result, again, any given weekend, you never know how it's going to play out. We mentioned USF easily could have been swept last weekend by Houston. They also could have, in return, taken all 3. They wound up taking 2 of the 3. So Cork has more insurance. As Morgan Neal grounded out to Cork back in the first inning. It's her first time to come up since then. And number 3 hitter takes that offering high. So Neal, Minen, and Stafford, a combined 0 for 3 today. Due up here in the bottom half of the 4th. In Cork this year, an ERA of 1.49. Has been susceptible to allowing leadoff batters to reach, though. But we have not seen that today. Tulsa has stranded 1 in the first 2 innings. So 2 for the ball game. But have not come any closer to scoring than back in the first when Estacado was left on third. This will get out of play.
And Cork not used to giving up very many hits either, right? So one of the top ERAs in this conference as well. Moving her way up in the NCAA rankings in ERA. So she's going to be another pitcher that we're seeing this game that's not used to giving up free passes, not used to seeing very many runners on base. So it's going to be important for her to limit that. If she doesn't, Tulsa's going to need to capitalize on any free passes that they get from USF, right? USF's capitalizing on their own momentum, and Tulsa needs to make sure that with runners in scoring position, they have the timely hit, and then be able to supplement the rest of what Watson's doing with some great defense. Have not been able to see that so far this game, so it'll be interesting to see how the latter half of this game goes and the rest of this series.
Well, Tulsa has to find a way to take advantage here. Neal, the leadoff walk against Cork, who, well, on average, probably walks about 1 batter per every 4 innings, and here we are in the 4th. So Neal, the runner for Haley Minen, who struck out back in the first. Just 2 strikeouts on the day for Cork, has not needed to rely on the strikeout. And she's only allowed a couple base hits so far.
And averaging a base hit an inning is really not going to be, depending on what that hit looks like, is really not going to be the knockout for a team defensively, especially for a pitcher like Cork. But it's going to be important, too. The old softball adage is that walks score runs. So any sort of free passes that you're giving a team, especially like Tulsa, who will need to generate its own momentum and knows how to do that as a veteran squad, this is the time where their bats are really going to start to heat up.
This one pushed out towards right. It'll get out of play. Tulsa comes into this one 25 wins, 15 losses. Only 5 of those 25 wins are games in which they did not score first. As the Bulls find the first 3 runs today, Tulsa will need a comeback here in game 1. Again, we'll see them again on Saturday and Sunday in this weekend series. Has a chance. Only play will be over to first. And Neal able to move on to scoring position, now 1 away.
Seen a lot of mishits today from both sides. Tulsa, again, not getting any breaks. Really going to have to dig in here on their home field and find out what some of their controllables are and make sure that they're doing everything they can to limit free passes and choose good pitches.
It's still not better?
So again, just 2 hits today for Tulsa, a program that this year is 2nd in the conference, batting .308 in league play. Only team better at .311 in league play, the newcomers from Wichita State. Tulsa just struck out a couple times today. That's par for the course. They have struck out fewer times than any other team in the American this year. But they need to find ways to bring home runners, including right now Morgan Neal on second with Tori Stafford at the plate with 1 out. That one One tipped back in the glove, and Stafford the third strikeout of the day for Cork.
Next up, Riley, S-P-E-L-L.
Public address announcer having some fun with Riley Spell, who will make her way up.
Riley Spell having a good day defensively so far. Was able to gun out a USF runner. I believe it was Donovan.
Yeah, she was
over there
able
on first base, able to make sure that her pitcher didn't have to throw any more pitches that was necessary. Saw the minimum 3 in that first inning.
Spell grew up just down the road from the University of Houston. She's from Pearland High School, just on the southeast side of town. We've seen a couple of former Pearland Oilers in the American this year. And not tempted by that one ahead in the count.
And here it is, the time that we're going to start to see Cork introduce her changeup later in the game. Decides to save that until around the 4th or 5th inning. Really relies on her horizontal moving pitches, screw and curve. If she's not getting that expanded river, she's not getting as many swing and misses on that rise ball, she tends to introduce that pitch later in the game. Great that she's able to wield all those tools in her toolbox strategically. Again, another reason why she has the presence and the strategy of a pitcher who's much older than she is.
It's Morgan Neal on second, a ground out and strikeout later. There are 2 outs. Spell lofts this one out towards left. In front of the warning track is Atkinson, and Neal will be left stranded on the base paths. Golden Hurricane have stranded 3 today. Second straight inning, the Bulls do not allow a response from Tulsa. Bulls looking for more insurance when we return to Oklahoma.
Power comes in all forms.
Power is a big tackle.
A big save.
A clutch hit.
And a game-winning shot.
Power is also standing up for what is right.
Power is respecting an opponent, officials,
Student athletes, coaches, and team representatives.
Power is not tolerating racial or ethnic comments.
Profanities or other improper actions.
While at the game.
The American.
Power.
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 Power for life.
There are other people just like you. Driven, determined. Those who use passion to spark creation. Others who are ready to unite and discover together. It all starts with you and continues with us, the University of South Florida.
Well, once again, stepping into the circle is Emily Watson with no run support so far today, and she's conceded 3 runs over the last 2 innings to the Bulls. The weather has panned out nicely for everybody in attendance here at the Collins Family Softball Complex. A lot of nice touches in this venue. By the way, Tulsa will be hosting, of course, nationally ranked Oklahoma later this week. That's already a sellout. As
no surprise.
That's an Oklahoma team that almost fell to Wichita State this last week. Wichita State was up 6-0 for the Sooners. Were able to put to use their final 6 outs to find 7 runs. Sooners, of course, always, you can just about write them into the Women's College World Series up in Oklahoma City, just down the road from them. And a quick out for Watson. And Ken Erickson talking there to Cassidy Boyle, the New Yorker. Like a lot of New Yorkers when they're seniors move down to Florida. Nobody on, 1 away.
So Boyle being one of these incredible athletes on this USF squad. 9 out of 10 making the play defensively. Major contributor as a senior offensively coming in today's game, hitting .308.
Chases a high one, and it'll just stay within the confines as Witten able to squeeze it in. Well, let's see if Tulsa can work quickly here. Already 2 outs and get back to the plate.
Boyle just misses this one. Again, we talked about how important it was going to be for, if they were going to choose rise ball, that their bat angle was going to be on top of the ball, or their bat head was going to be above where the ball is. So
Hartman sees one pitch from Watson, and Watson able to get that over to the bag. That is a quick 3 up, 3 down affair. Our apologies to anybody who walked away to grab a snack. We'll be back in the bottom half of the 5th inning.
7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 21 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American.
I'm Kirk Smith, and this is my story. I'm a captain of TU's track and cross country teams, and I'm a Rhodes Scholar. My life's pretty simple. I run, I work, and then I run some more. My research focuses on combating climate change by driving down the cost of energy storage. And that's my story, so far.
Welcome back to Tulsa here on the American Digital Network. Bulls have scored 3 runs over the past couple of innings. Watson with 6 strikeouts on the day as some of her biggest supporters helping keep track. A couple of the backwards variety mixed in. Does the iPhone have a backwards K yet?
don't believe so.
No.
Working on it. I'll get with Apple.
So Shannon Hughes in the bottom third of the lineup, due up for Tulsa. They also don't have a softball emoji. Still stuck with that baseball. Hughes, Byers, and Witten, a combined 1 for 3 today. Hughes with a single in her only at bat today, back in the 2nd inning. As Corrick has faced 3 more than the minimum. This one out towards center. And squeezed in for out number 1.
For the most part, both of these pitchers making quick work of their opponents. Talked about this being a great example of powerful pitching throughout this conference. And, you know, USF's Georgina Corrick and Cheyenne Eggins, who I'm sure we'll see later this weekend, as well as Emily Watson and Houston Savannah Huebner, amongst the nation's top 50 in ERA. Spoke a little bit about that earlier in the broadcast, but seeing Emily Watson's ERA go up just slightly after this game.
Yeah, league play, all of a sudden, all these talented teams just beating up on one another.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, hitters fairly familiar with some of these pitchers.
Mm-hmm. Well, exactly, and especially with some of these older pitchers, with Emily Watson, teams coming in preparing for her. It's no surprise what she's throwing. And so she's just going to have to be really crafty with what she throws and what her pitch sequences look like. And we've seen her make adjustments when we've seen USF make adjustments, and that's what part of what makes her a great pitcher. And most likely she's going to be an All-American for the 2nd time in her career.
Briers 0 for 1 today. Still behind on the count, 1-2. Next pitch will be the 70th offering from Corrick. Watson had to surpass 70 pitches a couple of innings ago. Briers trying to ignite something. She'll have extra bases with 1 away. So Tulsa, for a 4th time in 5 innings with a base runner. Will this be the inning in which they put some runs on the board?
And there it is. Briers showing us why she's the only freshman in this lineup. Squares that ball up nicely. One hopper to the fence. Interesting that Atkinson didn't dive for that ball. Thought that might have been a game-changing play there if she's able to catch that. And if she dives and has to get up and throw it, doesn't look like Briers is going to be able to take third.
Michaela Witten, your 9 hitter, with a runner on and 1 out. Witten out of Shawnee, Oklahoma. Just a sophomore. We saw production from the Bulls 9 spot. A 2-run home run that right now holds up as your game-winning base hit at the moment. A look at a moment ago, the offering from Cork.
And there it was. We talked about from Watson how important it was for that last half of the arm circle to be the fastest, and how quick that motion needs to be with your wrist and that snap needs to be as a pitcher. Seeing the same thing from Cork with that drop ball.
Witten gets the head of the bat on it, but foul. Again, Sarah Briers, your runner on second, had the 1-out double a moment ago in the corner and left.
And both Watson and Cork do a really good job of hiding when they're going to be throwing any sort of off speed. And because it's not always a true changeup, it can be tough for a base runner to pick that pitch and know that they're going to be stealing. But generally, if you're a great base runner, you know you need to be looking for changeup.
This one will find its way through. As Briers, they'll be conservative initially, and when that ball gets past Cook, they decide, let's send her. Now, Witten likely is not going to get an RBI out of all that. I don't think she's too bothered by it. She's in scoring position now after the Bulls mishandle this one.
And that ball's hit well up the middle, but not sure where that miscue was. Didn't look like. So in that situation, Cook is going to be the one to determine whether or not that ball is cut. And there was a little bit of a tail from that throw. And so the ball doesn't bounce true, and that's why it's so important as an outfielder. You have to have that true spin on your ball. And if not, if you know that as a outfielder that your throw is going to tail, then you need to be making those adjustments when you're throwing to adjust where your target is.
Well, you understand why Briers was not initially going to try to force the issue at home with just 1 out. Did not want to be the second one at home since she was not going to be the tying run, but now she's already come through. And I don't know if there's many people you'd rather have at the plate right now with 1 out and another teammate in scoring position. Julia Hollingsworth at the plate represents your tying run for Tulsa.
And again, we said how important it was going to be, especially in this series, for the bottom of the lineup to perform and get on base. And we've seen that on both sides so far, setting up for the top of the lineup in order to do some big things in terms of timely hitting. USF's done it. And it'll be interesting to see if Julia Hollingsworth is able to come in. We know we said that her slugging percentage coming into this game, .504.
Again, 1 out. Squeezed in, but with that being in left center, Witten has to hold right where she is, 2 away. It's the only inning in which Tulsa has had multiple base runners. Briers has already scored, Witten still at second, and now the burden is on Shelby Estacado. Remember, she was stranded at third base back in the first inning after she had a 1-out double. She's now 1 for 2 on the day. Estacado, one of your top players in the American this last week. In that Wichita State series, and it appears they're going to put her on first. That would mean your tying run is on first with 2 outs. They'd rather face Morgan Neal, who has grounded out to the pitcher and walked today. So they'll walk the 2 spot to get to the third hole in this lineup.
And a couple things going on here in terms of mentality, right? So obviously a compliment to Estacado that Corrick doesn't want to face her. They don't want to face her firepower. But Neal having an opportunity here to supplement Emily Watson and get a lead for her team. If you are the player that they are walking somebody else to get to, you have an opportunity to show them that they made the wrong decision and that they should have been pitching to that other player and that you are not going to be the easy out.
They just walked a 390 hitter to get to a 340 hitter. But the difference is Estacado with 7 home runs on the year, Neal with 1. Neal has still found ways to drive home teammates. She's at the plate as a go-ahead run potentially for Tulsa. And with the same, the Bulls, of course, a force at any base to get out of the inning. With Witten on second, Estacado on first. A big inning right here in the home half of the 5th. This is after Watson breezed through the 3 batters she faced in the top half this inning. And her teammates trying to pick her up now. Right side, nice stab by Evans. And it'll be limited to just 1 unearned run in the 5th. Tulsa will strand a pair. They've left 5 on base today, but they finally take the goose egg off the board. It's a 2-run ball game after 5 innings here in Tulsa.
Oh, that ball is hit deep, left field, way back. That ball is gone. Double play ball potentially Schreitenthal's over to first. In time, double play, and that ends the game.
Tulsa finds its first run of the ball game here in Game 1 of this 3-game weekend series in the American. Your defending champions in the American, both regular season and tournament title a year ago, facing the top team in the league this year. The Bulls of USF preseason picked 3rd, but right now sole possession of that top spot in the standings. Both of our starting pitchers still in this one. Watson worked a quick 5th inning. And she faced the 2, 3, and 4 hitters. Now time for 5 through 7. First pitch off the mark to Amber Atkinson, who's 0 for 2 today. Atkinson, the left-hander, batting .365 now on the year. Almost .420 when she leads off an inning. And just fooled on that one from Watson.
Watson getting crafty here in the top of the 6th inning, able to throw that changeup and work a ladder with her changeup as well, right? We've seen a changeup in the dirt a lot so far this game. Doesn't actually have to do that, regardless of whether Atkinson swings. That ball's a strike.
That's a fair ball, and it'll be extra bases here for Atkinson. She's going to try to stretch it for a triple. And she's 60 feet away from reclaiming that run surrendered last half inning. A leadoff triple for Amber Atkinson.
And she takes an inside pitch and has a short bat path right to it. Just a great piece of hitting there, and it doesn't go Tulsa's way.
Again, a lot of little things. Last year did go the way of Tulsa when they went 41-17. They're going to run for Atkinson.
Pinch runner.
As in her place, it's Anna Marie Bruni, a starter a year ago for the Bulls. A sophomore, 60 feet away from, again, reestablishing a 3-run advantage. Here's Lindsay Devitt. Last thing she did, a home run in the 4th.
And we saw Bruni in the lineup against Houston for all 3 games. So again, Erickson doing a great job of using the depth of his bench and getting a lot of players in and out of games, regardless of whether they're starting, keeping them locked in and making sure each of them has an important role, even though Anna Marie Bruni doesn't happen to be starting today.
Devitt now behind the count to Watson. That triple a moment ago, the 7th hit of the day for the Bulls against Watson. Emily does have 6 strikeouts. We've seen her 10 times this year in double figures in strikeouts at the end of a ball game. But her bats have not been able to help until this last half inning.
And we're seeing a little bit more offense from this particular opponent against Tulsa. But Tulsa has seen a lot of 1-0 losses this year, and a big difference from what we saw from the Hurricane, the Golden Hurricane last year, was those 1-0 games tended to go their way last year, and not getting the same number of wins from those performances. So that's a big difference that you're seeing in terms of how many wins they have on the year.
This one pulls Stafford off the bag, and they're gonna, you assume, give an infield single to Devitt, as that was going to be tough for Neal to be covering the bag in time for a throw.
And what I find surprising is that there have been a number of opportunities for Tulsa's defense to step up and to be ready for anything that comes their way. And it's not like Watson takes a whole lot of time in the circle, right? She has a great rhythm that keeps her defense alert, but it doesn't look like Tulsa's defense, it looks like actually they might be checking out.
Tulsa's 6 wins in conference. They've outscored their opponents by a combined 27 runs. They have not been close, but their losses have been close. We mentioned 3 of the 4 by just 1 run, as you were mentioning. A turnaround from last year, when a lot of the 1-run ball games seemed to go the way of the Golden Hurricane. Last year they were 13-5 in 1-run ball games. This year they're 5-6. And the Bulls, no interest in having a 1-run ball game today. Still with insurance and looking for more. With Macy Cook at the plate, she has doubled and singled, 2 for 2 today. And there are nobody outs with 2 on. And there's your first strike from Watson.
Cook clearly showing her senior prowess and her experience, going into each of her at-bats with a plan. One of the few USF players that started from at-bat number 1 with a timing technique, as we're seeing right here, showing bunt, pulling her bat back.
Hughes, who's playing up at shortstop, gets the out at first.
Samantha Worrell.
And so now 2 on with 1 away. Again, she's cheated up to make sure the runner cannot come home. So Bruni is still at third, with Devitt in scoring position now at second. Can Sam Worrell break this game open? 1 for 2 today, strikeout and a single. The base hit back in the 4th.
So USF today has seen a lot of success waiting out their at-bats a little bit. I'm actually surprised at this point in the game that they're not being more aggressive earlier in their at-bat, right? So they've seen a lot of pitches from Watson. They know what she's throwing. They're pretty familiar with her pitch sequences. So at this point, they're ahead, let it fly. If I'm a player and I'm going up against Watson, I'm saying, all right, anything I know that's going to be between my knees and my hips, I'm going to be taking a hack at, because I know that later in the count, I'm going to be getting something that's just really not going to go my way and is not going to be my strength.
7 strikeouts for Watson. And again, that means Bruni is stuck over there at third for the Bulls. 2 away.
Worrell took 2 great pitches. Not much you can do with an at-bat like that. And then the final pitch, I mean, I understand that you want to make sure that you're fighting every pitch off and getting those hacks in, but she really only gets 1 hack against a pitch that's not in the zone.
Mia Fong, right now, is your game-winning run. when she scored back in the third inning on her own 2-run blast. It's her run right now that would be enough to put Tulsa, USF over Tulsa. We since have seen a home run from Lindsay Devitt as well. But Fung, the number 9 hitter, with 2 outs and 2 on. And looking for more RBI on the day.
So it's interesting with the pitch prior that Watson did not get the call. We saw with Korick on left-handed hitters that she was getting that high, what would be under the elbows of a right-handed hitter. Didn't get it from Watson. Watson makes a great adjustment, brings that ball down just an inch or two.
Oh, Watson will get that call on Fung. And Fung now in a hole.
And again, we're seeing some great gamesmanship from Watson, right? She, with a 1-1 count, she's able to throw that changeup for a strike. And then we're seeing her make it dance a little bit more and drop right out of the zone when she has an opportunity for a strikeout.
Chance to get out of the inning. Watson will strike out 2 more in the 6th and strand a pair of bulls. Golden Hurricanes still in striking distance with 6 outs still to work with here at home.
Power comes in all forms. Power is a big tackle,
A big save.
a clutch hit.
And a game-winning shot.
Power is also standing up for what is right.
Power is respecting an opponent, officials,
Student athletes, coaches, and team representatives.
Power is not tolerating racial or ethnic comments.
Profanities or other improper actions.
While at the game.
Be American.
Power.
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 Power for life.
There are other people just like you. Driven, determined. Those who use passion to spark creation. Others who are ready to unite and discover together. It all starts with you and continues with us, the University of South Florida.
Well, perhaps some future Golden Hurricane or Bulls taking this one in. Lincoln Rose along with Sydney Gearbracht. One of us used to be one of those young ladies. What was that experience like when you'd get to go out to the park with your teammates and watch the big kids play?
You know, I didn't watch a whole lot of college softball until I was in middle school and early high school, right? I remember watching UCLA and Arizona during the Women's College World Series, and that was really my first taste of softball at an elite level. We really looked up in the community that I grew up in to a lot of the girls who played high school. They were the ones that helped with the youth organizations around the city, and I thought that was great. And that's something I really enjoyed as a older player, getting to influence the younger set. I think that you are seeing there's an evolving that's going on right now in collegiate softball and the way that people are recruiting. And you're seeing younger and younger kids getting recruited. And this may be my personal opinion, but at the end of the day, when I was 13 years old, I actually didn't know that I even wanted to play softball in college. And I think that's a little young to be having kids commit so early. But one of the benefits, if you're on the other side and you do know that you want to play, is that it makes this whole recruiting process a little bit less stressful when you know as a sophomore or junior where you're going to college.
First pitch swinging is Minen. And again, she's able to make the most of that opportunity. Tulsa finds themselves with Stafford coming up to the plate representing the tying run.
Not necessarily a well-hit ball, but there we go with how important it is for triangles to be communicating. So often defensively we see triangles right there between left, center, and shortstop. A little bit of a break in communication. Another defensive miscue there for USF. Happens to finally teeter the other way in favor of Tulsa.
We'll mention Bruni after coming in to run, but not being able to score. Will stay in out there in center field. Haynes has come on for Worrell in left. Fung, your DP. Chance for 2. And they'll get Stafford at first.
Next up for Tulsa, number 22, Riley.
So So just like that, another look.
And some great defensive chemistry there from Devitt, Boyle, and Evans, right? Two seniors and a junior making things happen out there for their freshman pitcher.
I held off initially saying Minen was out. It was one of those where Devitt at second had come off the bag, but I guess for her protection, they award her that out. The only question then would be Stafford, and they get her. So a double play wipes the bases clean as Riley Spell 0 for 2 today. And Tulsa down to its final 4 outs now.
There we go. Georgina Korek again trying to expand the zone a little bit. Not getting that same call on the outside that she is getting on a left-handed hitter. Similar to the way that Watson's not really getting the same call on a right-handed hitter up and inside underneath elbows.
Well, with Tulsa down possibly to its final 4 outs, you've got Spell right now batting .222 at the plate. Count goes full. Hughes, Briers, and Witten potentially would be up next inning. All of them batting .260 or lower on the year. With Korek looking for the complete game victory. This one's going to get down and right. 2-out base hit for Riley Spell.
Doesn't matter what it looks like, just matters that you get the job done, and that's actually a great choice there from Riley Spell, able to extend through that ball. Quick little single, starting at 2-out rally here. 2-out rally for number 22.
Her run is so critical, they will bring in a runner for her.
Going to have a quick confab with the player coming up next, and so important for offenses to be communicating throughout the game, right? Hey, what did you see? What are you choosing? What was something that you thought when we went into the game was going to move differently than when you actually saw it in person? So being able to make those distinctions early in the game is key.
Well, Korek can focus on Shannon Hughes. The pinch runner is Jesse Smith, but again, with 2 outs, if you can retire the batter, Smith will simply be left stranded. Hughes with a single in the second, 1 for 2 today. Tulsa has left 5 on. Bulls have stranded 6. But remember, Tulsa was stuck on 2 hits for much of this ball game. Now 6 on the evening, with the 1 run coming home in the 5th. Tulsa just needs a little good fortune here. Right now, 0-2 count to Hughes with 2 away. Got her. So Korek concedes a couple of base hits in the 6th, but a double play, a single, and then the strikeout of Hughes. Golden Hurricane down to their final 3 outs, but the Bulls with one more chance to factor in with some runs.
7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 21 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American.
I'm Kirk Smith, and this is my story. I'm a captain of TU's track and cross country teams, and I'm a Rhodes Scholar. My life's pretty simple. I run, I work, and then I run some more. My research focuses on combating climate change by driving down the cost of energy storage. And that's my story, so far.
First of 3 days that these two teams will collide in the American. Again, Tulsa came into this year your preseason favorites after taking both the regular season and tournament titles. Tulsa under John Barfelt, 6 regular season crowns, 6 tournament titles as well. We saw USF, your conference champs, back in 2016. They'll have a chance to play on their own home diamond this year in Tampa at the conference tournament to claim an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. And USF right now up by a pair. We're back to the top of the order with Lauren Evans, where she will simply try to spot Cork a little more insurance. Again, Emily Watson today through 6 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs, all earned. Walked 1, struck out 8. But 4 extra base hits, a couple home runs, a triple, and a double conceded today have all added up. She has had success here against Lauren Evans, who's 0 for 3. Only time Evans reached was when Watson had a throwing miscue over to first base. That would not cost her.
And so often in a sport like softball, we're measured by the numbers, right? So this is Lauren Evans' time to shine. She's hitting .296 on the year.
This is going to hang up for Minen, out number 1.
Doesn't get it there, but usually the numbers are going to be stacked in her favor. She's going to be getting, usually, going to have a 1 for 3 performance. But not able to get enough of that ball in order to make that happen.
Aston Donovan today, 1 for 2, a walk and a single. Grounded out to first most recently in the 5th inning.
And got robbed of a stolen base, courtesy of Riley Spell.
Just the 2nd time this year. Again, she was 13 of 14 coming into today on the bases. But Spell with a great throw got her.
Beautiful thing that we've seen so far this game is we've seen contributors from all angles, right? So we've seen it from pitching, from defense, from offense. And so often when we talk about wins and losses, it's because there's one of those things missing. For Tulsa today, you know, they've really contributed well with pitching and the timely defensive play. You know, haven't really been able to make it happen so far offensively, but they'll get their opportunity.
Cassidy Boyle hoping to run the bases for the first time today. A couple of flyouts to left, struck out looking as well. Tulsa is 1 out away from bringing its bats to the plate in the home half of the 7th, with needing just 2 runs to prolong this ball game.
Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a changeup here from Watson. Every time we've seen her come in with something hard inside, that's resulted in a foul ball. Not long after that, follows a changeup out of the zone.
This would be, if Tulsa cannot score in the bottom of the 7th, the first time since that UCF series that they are held to just 1 run in a ball game. Again, against UCF on Friday to start conference play back at the end of March. They lost 0-1 on Friday. Saturday and Sunday were both 1 run to 2. They have not hit many dry spells. I mentioned when they win big.
Mm-hmm.
But Cork has kept them at bay. But of course, Aaliyah White that weekend announced her presence in this league. The sophomore has really emerged for the Knights of UCF. And she will quiet a lot of lineups. Bottom of the 7th coming up, a 2-run ball game. If the Golden Hurricane can find 3, they'll walk it off as winners on this Friday. Otherwise, it's the Bulls improving to 8-2 in the American this year.
There are other people just like you. Driven, determined. Those who use passion to spark creation. Others who are ready to unite and discover together. It all starts with you and continues with us, the University of South Florida.
I'm Kirk Smith, and this is my story. I'm a captain of TU's track and cross country teams, and I'm a Rhodes Scholar. My life's pretty simple. I run, I work, and then I run some more. My research focuses on combating climate change by driving down the cost of energy storage. And that's my story. So far.
Again, one of the many great venues, Collins Family Softball Complex in the American Athletic Complex. American Conference, I should say. Here at this complex, you see some of the nice features. But the only features they care about right now are possibly bringing home a couple of Tulsa players to pull this one even. Tulsa's had base runners today. They've stranded 6. Their lone run against Cork came back in the 5th inning when the bottom third of the lineup was able to produce.
And Briers actually was the one who crossed the plate and is one of those base runners that Tulsa has had so far. And we talked about how important it was to fill the void that was left over at third base by Maggie Withy. And we've seen Briers, an example of why Briers has done the job.
Ball squeezed in, and all of a sudden, Tulsa with 2 outs to work with. Michaela Witten comes up 1 for 2 on the day, just now her 3rd at bat. We've seen them, USF and UCF, the 2 Florida schools. Do they have separation in your mind as being the top 2 teams in the league this year?
UCF and USF? Yes. You know, here's what I think. You know, UCF was so dominant for a while because they had veterans. And that's the shift that we're seeing from multiple teams in the American Athletic Conference now. Tulsa, USF, Houston, all teams that can come in and win a series on any given weekend amongst those 4. And we're really seeing some of that prowess come from older pitching, and that's what UCF had for so many years. Now, they're incredibly well coached, as the majority of the teams, I would say, in NCAA are, but they're incredibly well coached with, and Renee Lewis-Gillespie does a great job of knowing the brand of her program, and I think that we're just seeing them be a little bit young this year, but they've been able to perform. USF, in contrast, has some young pitchers in the bullpen, but for the most part are led by seniors offensively and defensively that have been able to make the biggest difference. Tulsa's dealing with the same thing right now. So I really think that in terms of the top 3 teams, Tulsa, USF, and UCF at any given point in the season could have taken it. It's shaking out to look like USF's year, though.
A line out into the glove of Cook off the bat of Witten means Tulsa down to their final out. And of course, the one young area for these 2 Florida schools is with their ace, Cork, the freshman, and of course, Aaliyah White over at UCF, the sophomore.
And you have Cheyenne Eggins, who we're not going to get to see this game unless it really goes awry. But she is a junior, and so it's great for USF to have her to supplement what Cork throws. She's also going to be a major contributor, one of the lowest ERAs in the nation as well, as we noted earlier in the broadcast. So USF has a lot to work with right now, at least 1 year.
Well, Hollingsworth, who reaches base about half of her at-bats, is going to go 0 for 4 on the day. And it is the Bulls of USF hanging on to the top spot in the American. They pick up their 30th win already on the season after going 32-24 last year. 30-15 now this season. 8-2 in conference play. They'll do it again tomorrow and Sunday in this 3-game series. The Bulls snap a 4-game losing skid to the Golden Hurricane. For Sydney Gearbracht, I'm Lincoln Rose. Big thanks to our American Digital Network crew. The Bulls of USF take Game 1 of this weekend series 3-1 to remain the top of the American standings here in a critical weekend series against last year's defending champs.